sale or rent, rooms to let, 50 cents. No phone, no pool, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes, but 2 hours of pushing broom buys an 8 by 12 4-bedroom. I'm a man who means by no means king of the road. Dat is grappig eigenlijk wel. Aan de vooravond van Nooit vertrekken. Aan de vooravond van Nooit vertrekken hoeft men tenminste geen koffers te pakken, nog plannen op papier te zetten, met onbedoelde begeleiding van wat men vergeet. Voor het vertrek, vrijblijvend nog de dag daarop, men hoeft niets te doen aan de vooravond van Nooit vertrekken. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Je suis venu te dire que je m'en vais. Et tes larmes n'y pourront rien changer. Comme d'ici bien Verlaine au vent mauvais. Je suis venu te dire que je m'en vais. Oui. Avond in de Ero. Tijmgeuren dobberen zwaar op de lucht. Moeten nergens zijn en blijven hangen zoals wij in dit domein. Zoals je zou willen zwerven. Het doet er niet toe waar, als het hier maar is. Nevel gaat net niet over het land, zoals je een slapend kind net niet aanraakt, erover ademend. En je weet, ik heb niet wat ik heb. De branding van de wind waait een zee van tijd zacht heen en weer. Het is eb. As you see, once in a while along the way, love's been good to me. Dank u wel, dames en heren. We zijn on the move en ik moet nu echt on the move, want om 2:30 gaat mijn vrouw dichters aankondigen in de 3 of de 2 markten. Dat is hier vlakbij, dat is om 2:30. Wij verwachten u daar. Die mensen die hebben veel interessants te vertellen en waarschijnlijk ook voor te lezen of voor te dragen. Bedankt, nog een applausje voor Wim de Busser.
Jens Christian, let me start with a question about your memoirs. I mean, you're only very young still.
I know, I agree that it is a little early to write one's memoirs. I am now 51, and when I was writing this book, I was only 49.
Yeah.
And I never dreamed of writing my memoirs, really. I was asked to do so. I was invited by the editor of a collection at the French publishing house Mercure de France. They do this series called Traits et Portraits, where they invite writers and artists to do a personal book of some sort. It doesn't have to be a traditional memoir. You can also write about things you love, paintings you like, and you're always invited to include images, pictures of various sorts in this kind of book. And I met the editor, Colette Fellou, in Copenhagen, because she came to do a radio interview, and she told me about this series and said, you should think about writing a book of memoirs for our series. And at first I thought, well, how could I, as you say, I mean, how could I even think of writing my memoirs at an age of 49? But then I thought that perhaps I could begin to write about the first half of my life, that is from my childhood to the age of 25, because at that time I was publishing my first novel, and I became a father for the first time. So this was a crucial moment. It was like the passage from youth into adult life, or what is supposed to be adult life. So I thought that maybe I could write a book about not only my childhood, but also about the way I became a writer and what has been the background for my wanting to write. And that is very much what the book happens to be about.
Yeah.
I write about life as it's been lived, as it's been experienced by the generation I belong to. And now we belong to the generation who were children during the 60s, and who became teenagers in the 70s, and who became adults in the early 80s. So we were too young to become hippies, to be part of the 68 rebellion, and we were too old to become punks.
Yeah.
So that's one way of defining us, that we are in many ways a generation in between.
Yeah.
Which also means that we were too young to really identify with the way ideologies, and especially socialism, became extremely important in the 60s and the 70s. We may have shared some of that atmosphere, but we never really believed that life, society, and history could be interpreted by way of politics. I think that what we share is a deep skepticism towards the notion that everything in the world and everything in life can be explained by way of political notions or ideological notions, as Marxists would have it at the time. So that's one thing I think we share, that we became individualists in a different way.
The wondrous mechanisms of the novel allow us to take our own stories and present them to all humanity as stories about someone else. So yes, one could define the novel as a form that allows the skilled practitioner to turn his own stories into stories about someone else. But this is just one aspect of the great and mesmerizing art that has entranced so many readers and inspired writers for almost 400 years. The other aspect demands that we go out of ourselves and understand and identify with problems of the others. This is the chance to write of others' lives as if they were our own. It is by doing this sort of research that novelists can begin to test the lines that mark off that other, and in so doing, alter the boundaries of our own identities. Others become us, and we become others.
And linking with what you've said before in the comments that you made just now, the other in Istanbul, what is that? The other that you need?
The other is, I think, imagining an other, a person who is not like us, lies at the heart of the art of the novel. Yes, there are writers who write very autobiographically, express themselves. But even when we are in our most autobiographical mood, novels are such structures that even if I write, this is my memoir, and give my memoir to a publisher who deletes memoir and writes a novel, once it's written a novel there, we begin to read it differently. Novels are structures, such structures that when we talk about ourselves, the reader thinks that we are talking about someone else. Or when we talk about the other, someone else, we are not well acquainted with, but we want to identify with, we feel that the writer is actually telling his story. The greatest achievement, craftsman-like achievement in writing a novel is to write about someone who is not like you and make the reader believe that it's all your lived experience.